start your engines because we are absolutely redlining today.
Completely redlining. It is tense out there.
It really is. Welcome to DRS Zone, by the way. This is our deep dive into the absolute chaos of the 2026 Formula One regulations.
And we have a lot of sources to get through today.
We do. We've pulled engineering reports, paddock whispers, and internal data to give you, the listener, the full picture. Our mission today is to strip down the politics and the panic. Because, look, if you're just a casual fan tuning in, today's date might not mean much to you. It's Thursday, February 26, 2026.
Right. But if you are in the paddock, that date is terrifying.
It is the sound of a guillotine blade being hoisted up. The engine homologation deadline is in exactly 2 days. Saturday, February 28th at 23:59. The books close. And right now, the paddock isn't just buzzing. It is literally on fire.
It's not just on fire. It's an active crime scene at this point.
Yeah.
We are looking at a grid that is panicked, politicking, and frankly, they're terrified of what happens when the lights actually go out in Melbourne.
I mean, we've got sources detailing what they call super clipping, which is turning these 200-mile-an-hour cars into moving chicanes.
Moving death traps, honestly.
Death traps. Well, plus, Ferrari has unveiled these 2 magic bullets that have the rest of the grid just shaking in their boots.
Oh, the exhaust trick. It's brilliant.
And we also have the political assassination of Mercedes. They thought they got away with the legal trick, but their rivals have pulled a knife in the voting room.
A very sharp knife.
And we can't forget the absolute nightmare scenario unfolding right now between Aston Martin and Honda before the season even starts.
It's bad. Really bad.
It is high octane. It is high stakes. So let's not waste a single second. We've got to start with the safety crisis because this isn't just about lap times, right? This is about physics biting back.
Yeah, the super clipping phenomenon.
Right, super clipping. It sounds like a bad haircut, but the reports coming out of the Bahrain tests suggest it's actually a recipe for a massive airborne crash.
It is a massive crash waiting to happen.
Yeah.
To really understand why, you have to look at the brutal engineering reality of 2026.
Break it down for us.
So, the new regulations killed off the MGUH, that complex part that used to recover energy from the exhaust heat.
Gone.
Dead. So to compensate, the FIA tripled the electrical power output from the hybrid system. Tripled it. Up to 350 kilowatts.
Let's put that in perspective for everyone listening. 350 kilowatts, that is nearly 500 horsepower.
Yes.
Just from the battery.
Exactly. It is a monster amount of instant torque. It's literally like strapping a second engine to the car.
Yeah.
But here's the catch, and it's the detail everyone seemed to just gloss over until they actually hit the track.
The battery size.
Right. The battery capacity didn't triple. The energy store is roughly the exact same size as it was before.
Wow.
So you have a massive straw drinking from a very, very small cup.
And when that cup runs dry, you don't just lose speed gradually, do you?
No, and this is the super clipping issue. Imagine you are Lewis Hamilton. You are thundering down the main straight in Bahrain. You are doing 350 kilometers per hour. Your foot is absolutely buried in the floor.
Flat out.
Flat out. Suddenly, the battery hits zero charge. The electric motor just stops pushing. But, and this is the really scary part, the car immediately switches into generator mode.
To try and recover energy for the next corner.
Precisely. So the electric motor effectively becomes a massive brake. It's called derating.
So you're on the straight.
The internal combustion engine is still screaming, but the electric motor is dragging the rear axle to generate electricity.
That is insane.
It feels like slamming on the handbrake in the middle of a straight while you're supposed to be at top speed.
Yeah.
You lose 30, maybe 40 kph in a blink of an eye.
That is terrifying. Because, look, if I'm Max Verstappen and I'm slipstreaming you, I'm right on your gearbox, centimeters away, expecting us both to brake at the 100-meter board.
Right.
And suddenly you hit a brick wall of resistance at the 300-meter board.
I'm going straight over the back of you. We're launching into the catch fencing. In the tests, we saw the warning lights on the rear crash structure just flashing like a disco.
To warn the guys behind.
Yeah, to warn drivers, I'm derating.
Yeah.
But at 350 kph, human reaction times are practically non-existent.
You can't dodge that.
You can't.
Yeah.
If a driver tucks into a slipstream and the car ahead super clips, it is a catastrophe.
So the FIA is scrambling. Our sources say they are in full panic mode. They realize they can't send these guys out to race like this, right?
They absolutely can't. Someone is going to get seriously hurt.
This is F1, so the fix isn't just about safety. It's a political weapon.
Oh, it's never just about safety in F1. It's about securing an advantage.
Yeah.
The FIA has 2 options on the table right now, mere days before the Saturday deadline, to fix this clipping issue.
Option 1. Let's hear it.
Option 1 is to drop the electrical power output. Force the teams to reduce it from 350 kilowatts down to maybe 250 kilowatts.
Okay, let's unpack that. If you reduce the output, the drain on the battery is obviously slower.
Much slower.
The energy lasts the whole straight, the car behaves predictably, it's safe.
It's very safe.
But who does that actually help?
That is what I call the Save Honda option. We'll get to Honda's specific nightmare later, but effectively, Honda is struggling massively with efficiency. Their internal combustion engine is thirsty. Right. If you lower the electrical power requirement, you mask their weakness. You level the playing field down to the lowest common denominator.
So the teams with the bad engines are screaming, safety first, lower the power.
Exactly. They are wrapping their own performance deficit in a giant safety flag.
That is so cynical.
It is. But then there's option 2. Increase the regeneration limit.
Okay.
Let the cars recover that 350 kilowatts of energy while they're clipping. This keeps the power high, but allows them to refill the tank faster during braking or even partial throttle.
And let me guess, that helps the teams that already have a beast of an internal combustion engine.
Bingo. This is the Boost Mercedes option.
Yeah.
Mercedes has a powerhouse unit. They can afford to burn fuel to generate electricity because their engine is just so efficient.
And they supply McLaren, too.
Right. McLaren, their customer team, was reportedly testing these high regen modes in Bahrain, and they absolutely loved it. They said it was a total success.
So if the FIA goes with option 2, Mercedes and McLaren get a massive advantage because their hardware can handle that aggressive energy harvesting,
Yes.
while Honda might literally explode trying to keep up.
Correct. So the FIA is in an impossible position right now. If they choose option 1, they are bailing out Honda and punishing Mercedes. If they choose option 2, they are handing the championship advantage straight to Mercedes.
And they have to decide this before Saturday?
They have to. It's a coin toss that decides the pecking order before the first light even goes out.
But if you look at the history of the FIA, usually safety trumps performance.
Yeah.
I can totally see them dropping the power, which would have Toto Wolff putting his fist completely through a table.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
The pumpernickel would be flying everywhere. But the big teams, Mercedes, Ferrari, they will fight tooth and nail against option 1.
Because of the money.
Because they spent hundreds of millions developing these high-power systems. They don't want to be told to turn them down just because Honda can't keep up. It's a literal war.
Speaking of fighting tooth and nail, let's talk about the boardroom knife fight regarding Mercedes directly. We've been tracking this compression ratio trick for a while in our deep dives.
Yes, we have.
But the sources we have today suggest the situation has turned brutal.
Brutal is the exact word. Let's break down the tech briefly so everyone understands what the stakes are here.
Go for it.
The rule clearly states the compression ratio limit inside the cylinder is 16:1. That's a fixed, hard number in the regulations.
Right, 16:1.
But Mercedes found a way to hit 18:1
How?
when the engine is hot, when it's running at optimal race temperature.
Because metal expands, it's just basic physics.
Exactly. When the engine block heats up to 130 degrees Celsius, the internal geometry changes just enough to squeeze that fuel mixture tighter.
And higher compression means a bigger bang.
Which means more power. That trick is worth about 15 to 20 horsepower.
That's huge.
In Australia, that's 0.3 of a second a lap. That is the difference between pole position and sitting on second row.
But originally, the teams agreed to a gentleman's agreement, didn't they? They sat down and said, okay, we know this is a gray area. We will start strictly testing for this actually checking the engine while it's hot starting August 1st.
Which was a massive win for Mercedes.
Yeah.
That gave them half the season. Bahrain, Saudi, Miami, Silverstone.
Wow.
They could run this trick legally for months because the checks weren't going to be stringent enough until August.
But then Toto Wolff made a mistake. Our sources say he looked a little too happy.
He did. The sharks in the water. You're talking Christian Horner at Red Bull, Fred Vasseur at Ferrari, the Audi reps. They saw that Toto wasn't sweating that August deadline.
They smelled blood.
They realized, wait a minute, if he's calm, it means the ban isn't hurting him enough. He's going to bank points for 6 months and build an insurmountable lead.
So the backstab happens. A sudden, aggressive push to move that enforcement date from August 1st to June 1st.
Right after Monaco and Canada.
That is ruthless.
This is a calculated strategic attack. By moving the date to June, they are forcing Mercedes to stop developing their current performance.
Because they have to fix the engine to pass the new test.
Exactly. They have to divert massive resources just to fix this trick by June.
And that coincides with the first ADU, right? The additional development unit window.
Yes, where the teams that are behind get extra wind tunnel and CFD time to catch up.
Oh, man. It's a total pincer movement.
Ferrari and Red Bull are basically saying, look, We will accept that Mercedes might win the first few races. We'll take that short-term hit.
Right.
But by forcing this rule change in June, we will cripple their development for the second half of the year and for 2027.
Because in 2027, the cold testing is banned entirely anyway. The loophole closes permanently.
Correct. This is the rivals playing the long game. They're sacrificing the sprint to win the marathon. They want to break Mercedes' stride just as the championship fight heats up.
But it's brilliant.
It is F1 politics at its absolute finest.
I love it. But while Mercedes is fighting for their lives in the boardroom, Ferrari seems to be doing something very different.
Yeah, they are quiet.
They aren't shouting. They aren't complaining to the FIA. They are just fast.
It's really unnerving, isn't it? Usually Ferrari is right in the middle of the drama. They're usually the ones protesting or getting protested.
Yes, sir.
But this year, the SF26 looks like an absolute rocket ship.
The reports from testing are just glowing. Fastest times across the board. Rock-solid reliability.
The tire management is what got me.
Yes. They were running in 45-degree track temperatures in Sakir, and the tires just weren't degrading.
That is the holy grail in modern Formula One. If you can keep the Pirelli tires alive in that kind of scorching heat, you win races, period.
But it's the tech underneath the bodywork that is really fascinating to me. They have brought two specific innovations that nobody else saw coming.
Nobody.
Let's unpack the first one. The FTM, Fluid Thermal Management.
Sounds boring on paper.
It sounds like an air conditioning unit. But the deeper we looked into the technical diagrams from our sources, this is basically the return of the blown diffuser from the 2010s, isn't it?
It absolutely is. They have placed a device right in front of the exhaust that physically manipulates the gas flow.
How does that work?
In simple terms, they're using the incredibly hot, fast-moving air from the exhaust pipe to seal the sides of the floor diffuser.
Like an invisible wall.
Exactly. It creates a skirt of air that sucks the car down to the track. It generates massive rear downforce.
And the gain is what?
Estimated at half a second per lap.
Half a second.
Half a second. That is an absolute eternity in Formula One. That's a gap you cannot close with just better driving.
So why doesn't Red Bull just copy it? Why not just weld a new pipe on and call it a day?
They can try, but the engineering reports say this took Ferrari 6 solid months to perfect. And crucially, it depends entirely on where your gearbox is positioned.
Ah, packaging.
Right. The Ferrari gearbox is incredibly compact and sits very low. If you are Red Bull or Mercedes, your gearbox might physically be in the way of where this exhaust piping needs to go.
So to copy it, you'd have to redesign the whole back half of the car.
You'd have to build a B-spec car. You're talking new suspension geometry, new transmission casing, new rear crash structures.
That takes months.
Months and millions of dollars out of the cost cap. Ferrari has built a massive moat around this tech. Only Haas, their customer team, might get it anytime soon.
And then there's their second weapon, the rotating DRS.
This is a totally new mechanism on the rear wing flap. Usually you hit the button and the flap just lifts up on a hinge.
Right.
Ferrari has found a way to make it actually pivot and rotate slightly as it opens, cleaning up the airflow off the back of the car even more.
And the data shows what?
It's yielding an extra 8 kilometers per hour in top speed over a traditional DRS setup.
So let me get this straight. They have massive downforce from the exhaust for the corners and an 8 km/h speed boost for the straights.
It is a lethal combination.
And you can see the confidence in the drivers. Did you see what Lewis Hamilton posted?
I did.
He said, and I quote, "I feel reset. I forgot who I was for a moment, but I'm back." That gave me actual chills.
That is a very dangerous Lewis Hamilton.
Yeah.
He smells a championship. He knows the car is good. He knows the team is calm.
While Mercedes is fighting legal battles and fixing broken engines, Ferrari's just out there polishing a diamond.
Exactly.
But let's go back to Mercedes for a second. Because despite that 350 kilowatt power advantage we talked about earlier, it's not all sunshine and rainbows in Brackley.
Not at all.
The W17 is fast, but our sources say it is incredibly fragile.
Fragile might be the understatement of the year. They binned 2 engines in testing.
So it's completely destroyed.
Toast.
Yeah.
Irreparable. Kimi Antonelli, their young prodigy, broke down on the back straight with a pressure loss that sounded like a bag of bull being shaken in a washing machine.
Good grief. And there's a weird story about their fuel, right? Petronas struggled.
This is a huge red flag for the works team. Petronas, their fuel supplier, apparently couldn't get their fuel homologated until the very last possible second.
Why?
The new synthetic fuel rules for 2026 are incredibly tough. To make it legal and pass the FIA chemical analysis, they had to sacrifice calorific power.
Explain calorific power for the audience. What does that actually mean when the driver puts his foot down?
Calorific power is basically energy density. It's how much physical bang you get for every single drop of fuel you inject.
Okay.
If your fuel is less dense, you need to burn more of it to get the same amount of power.
But you are limited by the fuel flow rate regulation.
Exactly. You can only pump so much fuel at a time. So effectively, the engine just creates less power at the very top end of the rev range.
So the fuel is legal, but it's weaker.
It lacks punch. And because of these catastrophic engine failures and the fuel chemistry issues, the customer teams, Williams and McLaren, they ran conservative engine maps all through the Bahrain test.
They were turning the engines down just to save them.
Yes. So they are flying completely blind into Melbourne.
Wow.
They don't actually know if the internal combustion engine will survive a full Grand Prix race distance at full power.
Yeah.
Because they literally haven't dared to try it yet.
That is incredibly risky for a team aiming for a championship. But if Mercedes is risky, then Aston Martin and Honda are in a full-blown code red crisis.
It is a disaster.
I'm seeing reports of a nightmare scenario for Fernando Alonso.
There is no other word for it. We all expected Honda to be strong. I mean, they dominated the last regulatory era with Red Bull.
Right.
But they are miles behind right now. They have a massive integration issue. There are vibrations, actual harmonics between the V6 engine and the carbon chassis that are literally destroying the batteries.
Wait, the engine is shaking the car to death.
Essentially, yes. That's shaking the internal battery cells apart. High-frequency vibrations are an absolute killer for sensitive electronics.
That's insane. And what's the timeline for a fix?
It's heartbreaking for Aston Martin fans. They need an entirely new engine spec to solve the harmonic reliability. But the internal scoops say it won't be ready for Australia on March 1st.
So Fernando Alonso is lining up on the grid knowing his engine is a ticking time bomb.
Pretty much. Or he has to run it turned down so low that he's going to be fighting the back markers just to stay in the points.
When does the new spec arrive?
The new spec might not arrive until China, or maybe even Japan.
That's 3 or 4 races into the season.
You cannot win a world championship if you DNF the first 3 races. The math just doesn't work.
And the performance deficit, even when it is running, is huge too, right? We're talking 50 horsepower down.
Around 50 horsepower down on the Mercedes. And to make matters worse, the engine is overweight.
Oh, no.
In F1, weight is everything. If the engine block is heavy, it raises the center of gravity. And you can't put ballast where you want it to balance the car's handling.
You can't fix a heavy rear end with just aerodynamic.
No, you can't.
Which is so tragic because Adrian Newey is there. He joined Aston Martin specifically to build a championship-winning car. And he's bringing a radically different aero package to Australia to try and save the season.
It's the classic Newey versus the engine situation.
We saw this in his early Red Bull years with Renault.
Exactly. He can design the most beautiful, aerodynamically efficient car in the history of the sport, but if it's pushing a heavy, underpowered, vibrating brick of an engine, it simply doesn't matter. They are in pure survival mode before the season even starts.
It puts so much pressure on the whole team. You have the greatest aerodynamic designer in history and one of the most relentless drivers in Alonso, completely handcuffed by the power unit.
And don't forget, Fernando Alonso is not exactly known for his patience.
No, he is not. GP2 engine, anyone.
Exactly. If that Honda unit fails on lap 10 in Melbourne, the radio messages are going to be legendary. But definitely not in a good way for Honda PR.
So let's quickly recap this absolute madness for you listening at home. We are 2 days away from the homologation deadline.
The landscape is wild. Ferrari looks dominant. They are fast, they are reliable, and they are super innovative with that exhaust tech. They're the clear favorites on paper right now.
Meanwhile, Mercedes has a monster of an engine, but it's fragile. They are fighting a vicious political war over compression ratios, and their fuel might be compromised.
And the FIA has a literal gun to its head regarding the safety of superclipping on the main straights. They have to decide if they handicap the entire field just to save the slow teams.
And Honda is just praying they can finish a single lap without the battery pack disintegrating.
It is the most volatile, unpredictable start to a Formula One season I have seen in a decade. Usually by now, after testing, we know who is fast.
Right.
This year, we just know who is panicked.
And just a quick note for our listeners, this segment is part of our news coverage of recent F1 events.
And that's the reality of the sport right now. We are looking at a season where boardroom politics might actually decide the champion before the driving does.
It's crazy to think about.
Think about it. If the FIA changes the electrical power rules tomorrow, if they go with option 1 and drop the power, Honda is suddenly saved and Mercedes is clipped.
But if they go with option 2, Mercedes walks away with the title.
The pen is mightier than the steering wheel this week.
It really is. So here's a final thought for you to chew on before Melbourne. What happens to these massive multi-year driver contracts if these new 2026 engines fail catastrophically early on? Are we going to see drivers trying to trigger exit clauses by round 5?
That is a very real possibility.
Who do you trust to survive Melbourne? Because right now, simply finishing the race sounds like the biggest challenge of all.
I wouldn't bet against the red cars. Not this time. They kept their heads down while everyone else was stabbing each other in the back.
We will definitely see. Don't miss a single beat of this chaos. We will be tracking the homologation deadline minute by minute. Follow DRS Zone right now on TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube. We'll be back the second the lights go out.
Buckle up.
See you on the grid.